Hello everyone. This video is going to walk through making the pear cam like we did in class. This will be making the pear cam just using the dimensions that were given to us by PLTW. There will be a video later showing you how to find the parameters menu in Schoology and how to model the pear cam parametrically, which is what you will eventually be turning in Schoology. But you need to see this video first so that you can understand how to make the pear cam in the first place. First thing we need to do is we need to, of course, start our sketch. Create sketch. I like to sketch on the front plane, so I'm going to click right here. Now the pear cam shape is not one that we can just make in Fusion. We have to break it down to simple shapes in order to make it. We can see here on the drawing that is given to us, these are the different dimensions we're given, and here is that pear shape. To break this down into simple shapes, the first thing that sticks out is this big circle on the bottom. So we are going to do one big circle down here, and then we're left with just the top. And imagine that there is this curved edge that's the top of the bottom circle there. So this top kind of looks like a triangle, which could be a good idea if we had a flat bottom here, but we don't. So instead, what I'm seeing here is they give us a center point and they give us a radius. So this is going to be another circle. We're going to trim a lot of that circle off, but we're going to have another circle here. And we are going to draw two lines connecting our two circles on each side. That's just an overview of the general process that we're going to do here so that you understand how we're going from step to step and why we're doing it that way. So now that we're heading back to Fusion, first we're going to take a look here and see what dimension we want to make our larger circle. They give us right here that the radius is 1 1/4 inches. We know it's in inches because they tell us that. So back here, I'm going to click on my circle tool, and I'm going to center it on the origin. That way we get an automatic coincident constraint that tells us that center point always needs to be on the origin. Now I can see here that Fusion is not asking me for a radius. It wants to know what the diameter of our circle needs to be. So they gave us a radius of 1 1/4 inches, but we need the diameter. We know that radius is half of the diameter, so we multiply by 2 and we get 2 1/2 inches. So we get 2.5, we hit enter, and here's our circle. Now this is very important. As we make our shape, we're going to ensure that it is fully constrained every step of the way. That way when we get to the point where we are changing it to be parametrically modeled, Fusion doesn't start making weird changes for us. You should remember that fully constrained means that we have told Fusion what size we need it to be and what location we need it in, so that Fusion can't change it in ways that we don't want it to. We know that it's fully constrained if the outline is entirely black. So looking at my circle right now, it is entirely black. It is fully constrained because we have told it what size we want the circle to be, and that automatic coincident constraint, you can see that symbol that popped up, tells us where we want this located. So that circle is good. It is fully constrained. We can move on. Next step, we need to place our second circle, but first we need to know where to put the center point. So I'm going to go back to my dimension drawing, and I can see here this is the center point of my top circle, and they tell me that it is 1 1/4 inches from the origin, the center point of our bottom circle. I'm going to create a construction line to help me find that. Remember, construction lines can be used as a reference, but they will not be part of your actual shape. To make a construction line, I just change my line type in my sketch palette to construction, and it'll be highlighted blue if it's on. Now I'm going to place the first end of my line on the origin, and then I'm going to go straight up 1.25 inches, just like they told me. and place my line. Now that does happen to be the radius of our circle here as well, so that means we're lining up with that intersection. I'm going to place my circle now, but first I need to go back to my dimensions and see what size I need. A radius of 1/4 of an inch, which means I'm going to have a diameter of 1/2 inch. Before I place this circle, I'm going to turn off my construction line because now I need this to actually be part of my shape. I'll just click there again, and it is not highlighted blue anymore. That means it is not a construction line. Circle, place it right here, 1/2 inch. And just to make things less confusing later, I'm going to get rid of my construction line because we don't need it anymore. And once I do that, you can see that this circle is blue. It's not fully constrained. So if I have something that's not fully constrained, the process I need to follow is I need to ask myself, have I told Fusion what size I need it to be? And have I told it what location it needs to be at? I have told it the size. We've got that 1/2 inch dimension, but I've not told it the location. What could possibly change about this circle and its location? Well, one thing that sticks out to me is because I took away that construction line, I could now move this, or Fusion could decide to move this circle closer to the origin or further away. And that's not something we want. So we need to use sketch dimension to add a dimension from here to here and specify that that needs to be 1¼ inches. But we're still not quite done. As we can see, it is still outlined in blue, so it's not fully constrained. If I grab on the center point here, I can see that my circle can rotate. It's staying that 1.25 inches, but it's not staying directly above the origin like I want it to. And I'm going to hit undo to get it back to the position it was exactly in. So in order to make that center point stay right there, I'm not going to use fix/unfix. I know that seems like a very tempting tool to use, but that is a temporary solution. That's not going to permanently make sure that our problems are solved. So we're not going to use fix/unfix. What we can use instead is horizontal/vertical to make sure that this center point will always be vertical from the origin. And that fully constrains it. Because now if I were to try to rotate this around the circle, it would have to move so that it's not vertical from the origin. So Fusion can't do that anymore. I'll hit escape to get out of that constraint. And we are on to adding our lines now. Remember, we need 2 lines on the sides here so that we get that full pear shape. Now they didn't give us any dimensions for our lines here. We don't have a length. We don't have positioning. They don't give us anything. But we are going to make an assumption here, and that assumption is that these lines run tangent to our bottom circle and our top circle. Remember, tangent means that it touches a circle and it only touches that circle once. And we have a constraint that lets us make sure our lines are tangent. So when we place our lines, we're not going to be too worried about where we place them. They don't have to be exact yet because we can use that tangent constraint to make sure that they're tangent later. So I'm just going to place my first line somewhere connected here on this side to my top circle, and then somewhere on the bottom here. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Doesn't matter if they're lined up or not. Doesn't matter if they're tangent yet or not. They just need to be there and connected in roughly those positions. Because now we're going to use our tangent constraint to make sure our line is tangent to each circle. And that little symbol pops up that tells me that it is tangent. This one can be tricky because it pops up and the numbers are over the top, but it is there. It's just hidden underneath those. And you can see that as I make it tangent to both circles, the lines become fully constrained and they turn black. Now I've got my overall pear shape. I just need to do some trimming in order to get that shape that I'm looking for. Notice that when I trimmed away my circle up here, these lines remained. That's not part of your circle. That's part of your dimension. So it's okay for those to stay. We need those to stay, otherwise our dimension goes away, and then we have a different problem to deal with. We are almost done. Now that we've gotten this far, we are going to add our axle hole. If I look here, my axle hole has a diameter of 1/4 of an inch, and that's a diameter, not a radius. So I will make a circle, place it here, and tell it 0.25. If I do this now on the same sketch as my pear shape, that means that when I extrude it, it will not have that center in it. I don't have to do a second extrude to remove the center. Now I can finish my sketch, extrude, and we see here that our thickness is 1/4 of an inch. And there we go. Our pear cam is done.